as a result of those wishy-washy definitions of covering every base, what they ended up with today is with six categories of philosophy, or subcategories, 6 branches, okay? And they originate from the basic questions. And you got to look at the questions. You can see that they're all opinionated. They're all subjective. Aesthetics. What is beautiful? You know, what is beautiful to me is ugly to you. You know, the cockroach thinks her baby is the most beautiful in the world. You know, I mean, ethics. What is good? What is good? What is bad? That's religion. You know, good and bad, evil, angel, you know, those terms come from religion. So ethics is a branch of religion, not a branch of philosophy. Epistemology, what is knowledge? Well, we don't know. We don't have a definition, and then we would have to define it properly. And it turns out when you look it up, knowledge is just justified true belief. We're still using Plato's version of what knowledge is. Logic, how do I know it? In other words, the inductive and deductive reasoning that is used. You know, that's a process. Logic is not philosophy. Logic is just a mechanism, a method of reaching some kind of conclusion. Okay? Political philosophy, how do we act, or how should we act? Really, you should read, you know. I mean, you know, liberty, justice, property, all that's opinion. You know, what is justice to you is injustice to me. So, you know, a lot of these terms, people think philosophy is just opinion. It's his philosophy, Joe's way of thinking. Is that what philosophy is? That's what we're going to fight over? Philosophy, just ways of thinking? No, hopefully we can put it in some kind of scientific, more rigorous context. Okay. And then we have the 6th branch, which is the one that's so interesting. You know, this is metaphysics. Okay, and metaphysics, you know, has 2 branches, apparently, cosmology and ontology. So we have philosophy, and under that we have metaphysics, and under that we have ontology. So we have all these subcategories of philosophy. So what is ontology? We can skip over cosmology, okay? Ontology deals with questions concerning what entities exist or can be said to exist. Well, I thought that was physics. I think physics has to tell you how this universe runs. Physics has to tell you what exists out there. That's the job of physicists, not of philosophers. This is not a question of that philosophers have to deal with. You know, I think it's very clear, at least under rational science, that if physics deals with objects and physics is the science of existence, then this is in the wrong place completely. And, you know, what happened was, since the 17th century, what they did was, it says there, the scientific method, however, made natural philosophy an empirical and experimental activity, unlike the rest of philosophy. And by the end of the 18th century, it had begun to be called science in order to distinguish it from philosophy. Again, you know, these people, what they did was separate so-called science from philosophy. Like, you know, philosophy is not part of science. And this is where we differ, because we're going to put philosophy back into science. And you're going to say, well, what's the justification for that? What's the reasoning for that? And so let's get into that. Well, first let's go with what's wrong with the current definitions, okay? Let's put this on this side, okay? And the first problem is it's unscientific. Okay, it's an unscientific definition that we have today. In fact, we don't really have a precise definition, as you can see. A lot of it depends on opinions, on subjectivity. Tradition and authority, we inherited this from the Greeks, passed it on for 2,500 years from generation to generation, and we accept it. It's like nobody challenges. It's like nobody says, well, is that philosophy? Is that what philosophy is about? Am I saying that all philosophers in the last 2,500 years were wrong? No, I'm saying they had an irrational definition of philosophy. And that's why people from all the way from Aristotle to Ayn Rand and beyond got it wrong. Not wrong, really. Got it irrational, because they never knew what philosophy is. They never defined philosophy precisely in a way that it can be used consistently. Okay? And a lot of people say, well, you don't need to do that with philosophy because philosophy is just a way of thinking. No. Not if we're going to use it objectively, which is what Ayn Rand attempted to do. She called her philosophy Objectivism. And it had nothing with, like I said at the beginning, it had nothing to do with objectivism. It was totally subjective, because Ayn Rand continues to put in every word, every sentence she pronounced, she continues to put the observer, senses, sensations, consciousness, knowledge, all those are subjective, all of them. Okay? And so she kept putting subjectivity in there and calls it objective. No. A lot of people don't want the definition I'm going to propose, or rational science proposes, because they want to protect their religion. And so, yeah, it's going to hurt. If you accept this definition, it's going to hurt. But the alternative is very simple. You got to come up with, you know, the onus is on you to come up with a definition that you can use consistently. And if you say, well, I'm not going to do that, I'm just going to continue believing what I believe in, and then all you got is a religion. You can't call it science, you can't call it, and if we're going to include philosophy within science, well, you're not doing philosophy either. You're just doing strictly religion. And religion is not philosophy, okay? Religion is not a philosophy, no. And I'll get to that in a second. Okay, the other problem with philosophy today is it's jack of all trades. It does justice, it does ethics, it does existence, knowledge, epistemology, ontology. They just put everything in there and say it does everything. That's like God, you know, God is everything. And so God is everything, so what can you explain if God is everything, if it's all, okay? And then the other issue is that because of that, it ends up saying, just saying that philosophy is just a way of thinking. And that's not very precise, and certainly not very useful for any discussion, any objective philosophy, any objective discussion, I mean debate, whatever. It includes ontology, which are issues that, and metaphysics, which are issues that belong strictly to physics, have nothing to do with philosophy. And then, obviously, because they have all these issues where they're not, I just have to say, they don't explain anything with this. Because of that, it's just opinion. Okay, it's just opinion, it's religion. Opinion is religion, it's a synonym of religion. That's what religion is. Religion is not the belief in God. Religion is opinion. If you have an opinion, you have a religion. And everybody has one. Forget it. We all have a religion. We all believe in something. Okay, okay. So here it is. This is the summary of Aristotle. We have senses, sensations. That's what we ended up with today for philosophy. Consciousness and knowledge. Okay, so you sense through the hands, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and from there it reaches your attic, goes to consciousness, and so now you're one with the universe, right? And from there, what comes out is knowledge. That's the notion that people have of philosophy today, and that's comes from Aristo's old-fashioned philosophy. Okay, yeah. If you're going to think of philosophy as just a jack of all trades, anything goes, it's just your way of thinking, that's what you end up with. You end up with subjectivity, because then everybody's got his own philosophy and it becomes subjective.